decide to share this recording publicly in the event that a student, parent, staff, or community member would like to know what was discussed. If you do not wish to be recorded, please let us know at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Bonnie. I'll call this meeting to order tonight at 6:02 p.m. Please rise if you're able for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, so our first order of business tonight is board recognition. And we have lots of things to celebrate tonight. So we're going to get right to it. So let's start with Renee Pauley. Would you please, oh, there you are. I didn't think so. Would you please come to the podium and join us up front? So Renee is a full-time teacher at Ording High School as well as the ASB advisor. She oversees ASB and all the compliance and has transformed that into a student-led organization where student voice is at the root of their work. Additionally, this year, Renee took on the added duties of supporting leadership in addition to her previous role of supporting the senior class. She has done a tremendous job of planning and organizing activities that honor student voice, empower students to support their school and local community, and to bring the community into our facilities to support our students. From bazaars, hot dog nights, student recognition assemblies, and our upcoming graduation, which she's masterful at organizing. Renee must never sleep, and she is constantly dreaming up new ways to support our kids. As a board, we are committed to building student agency. Some of the best lessons live outside the classroom, and it takes caring adults to support our students to make these dreams happen. So thank you, Renee, for being an excellent partner and bridge between our students and the local community. So we want to honor you tonight, and we've got pictures and a gift.
Yes.
Sorry, I had to like take the time of doing this.
What do we do?
So board, please join me. It's customary when we honor and recognize someone that we get a picture in front of the Wall of Fame. Not like you are not famous already. Yeah, we've got lots to celebrate tonight. But we just want to honor your work and your dedication to our kids. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so picture. Squeeze in, everybody. Oh,
Squeeze in. Squeeze.
students.
Yes. Come on now.
You're the most important. I love it.
Yes.
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Thank you guys.
Yay, Renee!
Sounds like it.
Up, down, up, down, up, down.
That's good. I like it.
Good steps.
Lots of reasons. All right, Mr. Polly. Come on up.
Oh, he's got his hat
I like it. All right, as the athletic director for our district, you know what, I just want to stop first and say, we have all recognized you at every event, after hours. They're next to our students. So now I'm going to read what I'm supposed to read, but I want to honor and recognize you for doing that. Like at any moment, if I saw someone at a football game get ejected, and the second I blinked, you were right next to that student, helping them through that moment. And so that is not going unnoticed. So I want to thank you for that, looking after me.
Even has to fill in for coaching once in a while.
Right, right. So Tyler, you as our athletic director have been instrumental in assisting the board in growing programs aligned to student and league interest. During your tenure, you have increased programming at the middle school and high school levels, and students are thriving. You manage the difficult task of ensuring our community-owned facilities are accessible and available for our students and local community. We know this is an ongoing challenge as the overcrowding in our schools also translates into not enough recreational facilities. You have helped to support our parent volunteers and boosters, which directly supports our goal around community connection and partnership. Lastly, you're simply always there. Start out by saying that. You are visible, involved, and we appreciate your ongoing connection and support in building so that our coaches and student athletes thrive. On a special note, OHS Wrestling head coach was recently named the Wrestling Coach of the Year, and our assistant coaches were named the National Assistant Coaches of the Year. And we put that in your purview, so congratulations.
And before we do anything, I'm going to ask for forgiveness later, but I want to say this now while Tyler and Miss Buckles are both still here. I want to thank both of them for the push that you gave this year to enable my autistic grandson to participate on the team for the very first time in his life. It has changed him a lot socially. He works harder at school, he gets more work done. And not only is it good for him, but I have two little things I'm going to share. One, after the last meet, JJ went over to another kid and tapped him and made a joke about their hat. Okay? JJ's never done something like that. And then JJ sat down to do bottle flipping, which he's very good at, and he does the challenge ones, like one bottle on top of the other bottle. And kids kept stopping by and saying, wow, JJ, you're so good at that. I know you can do that. I know one of these days he's going to do that. So the kids were coming to watch him and his talents. And then the thing that's going to make me cry, and Miss Buckles is the only other one that knows this. So on the Sumner team, there is a girl who has visual impairments and probably CP. And she has a parent that runs with her. They're tethered. Everybody watches her. They want to know that she has done it. And the boys couldn't run until she was done. And she actually fell down one time on the course. Her parent helps her up. Everybody's watching her. As she starts coming in, all the teams lined up along the finish line. All the kids lined up along the finish line, applauded and clapped for her. The audience, everybody was clapping and applauding for her because they saw this is somebody who gave her all, and everybody respected her and everybody cared about her. And so we're not just teaching kids how to be an athlete, but we're teaching them how to be on a team. And that helps them, not only the kids, the special needs kids are helped, but everybody else learns that we're a community made up of all kinds of people, and we're all important on that team. And so I want to applaud the two of you for having real sportsmanship, not just competition, but real sportsmanship. So sorry.
You're good.
Boys, but they had to be here.
Yeah, no, you're good.
Mrs. Buckles gets more credit for that than I do.
But you both
Yes.
made it happen.
Yes, that's the kind of culture that we have
Exactly.
in our sports
And that's
program,
why I
and
share
we will
that.
please that, so thank you. So, picture for you. Yeah, for sure. Come on, Paul. For all your activities. Thank you. Hey, kids, students, adults.
Now, you both actually want to hike.
Yes.
Are we in? Yes, you guys are good. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Perfect.
No, you're good. Thank you.
That said, that we have to actually go on a hike.
No, you're good. You're good. I love those examples. All right, so we've got two very important Vaughn Task Force members with us. Lovey Brandywin, do you want to come to the podium?
We'll hold hands.
However, you need to make it happen. So as we were approaching bond discussions, we wanted to, the board agreed, we wanted to do something different this go around. And putting together the bond task force, we didn't know what to expect. We put the ask to the community out there and invited people who had really any connection to the district, whether you had students in the district, you were an employee of the district, you were a community member, maybe you had a job skill we thought could be applicable to the conversation. And we had a phenomenal response, and I believe we had 12 total task members. We were shooting for 5. And it took a substantial commitment to be on the task force. It wasn't just a volunteer meeting you generally show up to. It was very specific meetings. Attendance was expected, and we gave the bond task force members just this incredible drinking from a fire hydrant volume of data that we've collected through our previous bond attempts. Everything from voter demographics to student enrollment projections, information from architects, information from environmental planning, like just, you can't, like it was stacks and stacks of paper. And the bonds, and the bond task force role was to learn that information, study it. During their day, they took time off to do tours of our schools and see firsthand what our students and staff were experiencing, the good, the bad, and the oh my gosh. So tonight, we want to recognize the efforts of the bond task force, the work that they have put into understanding the district's facility situation, and to celebrate their ideas and recommendations that they have brought forward to the board and discussed with us, and really kind of explain the why behind some of the ideas that have come forward. So tonight we have 2 bond task force members with us, both Levy and Brandy Wynn, who are really interesting that you both showed up because you both bring such different perspectives. And so we have, one more thing, the bond task force, they had to apply for it and kind of put a resume together for it, explain why it mattered, and we want to make sure that you know that that work was critical to us getting to that next step for our district. Put it on your resume, be proud of it. If you need a reference, I'm here.
Me too.
And we're looking forward to what comes next. Yes, with the bond. So we have certificates for you.
Yes, tchotchkes.
And tchotchkes. But now I have to find
Where
yours.
to?
Oh, conveniently,
2 of us?
Brandon,
I know.
hold on. Help me out. Oh,
Right there.
I got the
You
magic
cut
touch
that perfectly.
tonight.
Wow. Okay. One more time.
One more time, board. Recap. You can't get through district committee without a mug to remember your work.
Retirement.
My daughter was like, I want you to go home. Thank you. So come and get a picture of the wall of fame.
Well, we need to turn this into a wall of fame picture.
Yeah.
Oh, but then there'll be a distraction.
Come on in.
That remodels the room.
Okay, ready? Okay, 1, 2, 3. Cute.
All right.
Thank you so much. All right, we will catch up with the additional task force members. All right, so we have a few more things that we definitely want to recognize. Board, I will turn it over to you to pick those next few items.
Well,
I don't know how it ended up, but I love that the high school had their plant sale, and because I love plants and I love to shop. But it was really cool. The kids are really good, and it was fun. So I just want to shout out for that.
And as part of our effort to support smooth transitions between grade levels, our 5th grade students recently visited Ording Middle School to get a first-hand look at 6th grade. And I know firsthand it was fun. And Nora's thrilled that she could pick out classes. Anyways, and what I'm really supposed to say here, okay. During their visit, students played games, toured classrooms, and learned about the programs and classes OMS has to offer, like I just said. And a big thank you to our staff and student leaders who helped create a welcoming and informative experience.
I'll take a moment to recognize Ording High School's FFA students who once again this year visited classrooms across the district to educate the younger students about agricultural leadership and the opportunities available through the FFA program. Students participated in engaging activities such as build the emblem, pin the product, and pictofarming, sparking curiosity, yes, and excitement about the agricultural education. Thank you to our FFA members and advisors for inspiring the next generation.
And to add to that, the cows are now at OMS, and that OMS students are enjoying that.
I want to recognize the Ording Middle School band teacher, Colin Gribling, who recently was featured in Voice Journal of Washington Music Educators Association. The article praised Mr. G's transformation work in the OMS band program, stating that he has created a space where students flourish, building confidence, and developing love for music. Thank you, Mr. Gribling, for your passion and dedication to the music education in Ording.
I'd like to do another one, if that's okay. I don't know if many people think to go to like the art shows specifically that are put on. I've gone to a couple of them at the middle school. But this year we actually had an Ording High School student, Miranda Rios, who earned 3rd place in the junior senior high school art show at the Puyallup Spring Fair for her piece titled My Angel. Congratulations to Miranda on this impressive achievement and for representing Ording with such artistic excellence. I think that's a really big deal.
Yeah. I would add, I think it was Alexis whose photo got selected for the FFA card. Again, really cool way to integrate art in the FFA program. Okay. Anything good? I'll give a shout out to Hidden Lake Kung Fu. Target students Brennan and Jalen participated in a 10-minute kicking challenge. It seems like it'd be pretty hard. 10 minutes of kicking, and Jalen reached 593 kicks, and Brennan reached an incredible 757 kicks. And together, they raised $1,000 for PTR.
Oh, wow.
So that's fantastic. So I just want to thank you to Brennan and Jalen and Hidden Lake Kung Fu for your dedication, absolutely dedication, that's a lot of kicks, and support of the school community. So really cool. Awesome. Okay. Thanks. Some of these we have to read about. We don't want to miss any details, so it feels funny sometimes reading it out loud to you, but there's a lot each month to celebrate throughout our district, and so we want to make sure we recognize when we can and share that publicly with the community through our videos and audio, now that we have audio tonight. Great. Anything else, board members? Okay. Next item is community and staff comments. I don't believe there are any.
That is correct.
Thank you. And should I excuse everybody before your report or after your report?
Most of them have to stay actually, but yes.
Okay,
2 get off the hook,
all right.
2 might want to stay, maybe 3.
Raymond, yeah,
She's already done that.
Yep.
Yeah, it's customary when we get through recognition that I invite, if you want to leave, no hard feelings. If you want to stay though, it's a really cool experience. So everybody's always invited to stay.
You feel like you have to because they're staying, but it's okay. You can go too.
Riveting stuff, just you wait.
You can do it.
It's like the last one you get to skip.
We understand.
She's going, I'm going to.
Superintendent Azevedo.
All right, happy to share some great news since we last met in April with a few videos. I thought you'd like to hear and see some student voice that we're putting out there. We were able to host a couple weeks ago a regional learning event. Dr. Paul Bloomberg was here presenting to WASA Region 111, which is all of Pierce County. So our teachers, our administrators were sitting side by side with school leaders from throughout the county, really thinking about assessment for learning, agency, how do we put that into practice. Because we're hosting, we're able to get a lot of folks in attendance. So we had some free books to pass out, the same book actually that you had, Amplify Learner Voice. And that sparked a lot of not only reflection and understanding about how some of the things we've been doing are really working to accelerate student learning, but it gave us good ideas and time to think about how do we build and where do we go from here. So it should be a good launch and a connection to our launch next fall, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Thought you'd like to see a few photos of what it looked like with FFA visiting our Ording Elementary schools. They were capturing both Ording Elementary and Ptarmigan Ridge, and if you were watching social media, you saw lots of positive comments. Parents were raving like, oh my gosh, my kid had such a great time. And the smiles and the engagement were just huge. So kudos to FFA for continuing that call to really get out in our schools and spread the message in the news. We did have a work session. We're going to unveil the world premiere of our strategic plan review. But keeping in mind where we're going next year is really around that word agency. That's been one of the vehicles to really empower our staff, empower our learners. Dr. Paul Bloomberg will be our keynote speaker and really talking about that idea, but he's going to speak to it not just through the instructional lens, but how can we really create a culture of belonging and inclusion in our school cafeterias, on our playgrounds, in our Yellow Fleet, things like that. So it should be a message that everybody can connect to with some time to work with our instructional staff as well. But the stars of the show really reaffirming year 2 of your strategic plan, Jaden and Carly. We're going to play a video so we can sneak peek what it's going to sound like when this rolls public to the community in about a week or so.
Hey Ording, we're your student board representatives. I'm Jaden.
And I'm Carly.
And we are here to introduce to you the Ording Strategic Plan.
This plan isn't just about our academics, it's about us, our goals, our future, and our voices. Our district came together, students, families, teachers, and community members, to dream up what learning should look like for every student. And together, we built a plan focused on 4 big goals.
We're aiming for real life, meaningful academic growth, which means high expectations and teachers who believe in us.
It's not just about grades, it's about learning who we are and where we are headed. Learning doesn't stop at the school doors. We're building stronger connections with our families and community.
When we partner with our community, we get more opportunities, like dual credit, internships, and supports for your goals.
School isn't just about academics, it's also about how we feel. This goal focuses on social and emotional growth.
We are learning to lead, manage challenges, and grow into our best selves, all while feeling safe, supported, and seen. Every student's different, and that's our strength.
This goal is about making sure we get the help we need, whether it's in class, emotionally, or with our future planning. These goals are more than just words on a page, they're a promise.
A promise to support our growth.
To listen to our voices.
And to make sure we feel connected, inspired, and empowered.
Let's do this together, every student,
every day.
That's good. So kudos to you both for continuing to elevate student voice. We're excited for your report and excited to really continue this work across the county and the state. I've talked to many other superintendents, and they're really stoked to work with the future you and next year you and who that replacement will be to really keep going with that work of elevating voice and building agency throughout the region. So kudos to you, and that work is gaining traction. So that's a really cool celebration for us. Bond Task Force. So we did have that culminating activity on May 1st. They started back in January with the application process. As you heard, reviewed a mountain of data. And some of the key things that we heard from the task force, the urgent needs in the system cannot be ignored. What they really found is there's more to do than you can even do in one bond. So they were seeing, we need a second, we need a third. Their staff are doing way more than they really thought they were with the facilities. And they saw the constraints and how staff are adapting to those challenges, and they were really impressed. So you challenged them with really prioritizing, and that's where the conversation really started to sharpen focus. Unanimous agreement that Boarding Elementary School needed a replacement. I think a few of them were a little bit shocked to find out that that would actually end up being our new high school, but that's the way we would have to face it, because over time, you have to do these things in spaces because we have to educate the kids and have the room to do so as we're paying attention to future needs. Right there, right behind it, Boarding High School, as a group, they felt like that is right up there on the urgency list. There are great conversations about what about replacing the gymnasium, what about classrooms, what about the 70-year-old gym that looks like it's rickety and kind of falling down. And really the recommendation surfaced, if they had to prioritize, the general trend is focusing on career technical education. And I think one of the pieces that led to that is when they talked to students who said, we can't do the types of things we need to do because we don't have enough space, we don't have the right equipment. And when they heard stories about graduates that were unsuccessful when they left here because they didn't have access to the kind of training and equipment that other graduates had, that really sparked their recommendation. So their recommendation coming out of May 1st, though, was to run a laser focus, that's their language, bond next time around. So we really do appreciate that recommendation. We're drafting some pricing for you that the committee saw, and so probably June, July, somewhere in there, I'll have a recommendation for you to consider for a November 2025 bond. I believe that's representative of your wishes next year, so you don't piggyback a bond and a levy at the same election cycle, because remember, we do have to run an EP&O levy next year for that 4-year renewal. So I'll do some additional work with our architect about pricing and considerations, but I just wanted to bring that outcome publicly to you all, and so our local community gets a sense of what happened. As a reminder, though, to the community, all of that data and information they saw is available on our website, so you can be open and transparent and find out all that information if you'd like. 5th grade camp, I came back today. PTR was last week, OES this week. Oh my gosh, our staff are loving it. Kids are loving it. This is the first time post-COVID we added the overnight component, and they are loving it, and everybody has a different favorite. Archery tag was a hit today. Canoeing, the human foosball, oh my God, they were having so much fun. So we're going to have a lot of tired kids and staff tomorrow, but I would say at both schools they're already planning and debriefing about what they can do for next year. Unanimous consensus among staff that they loved it, and so did the kids. And our high school students benefited greatly as well. So it's a great activity.
Nora rated it.
2 thumbs up?
Thumbs up.
Good. 2 thumbs up, also Cultural Unity Fair. Our staff came together, did lots of art projects, engagements, songs, dances. We're continually grateful for the partnership with the Gullah Tribe, which had representation again this year. Family partnerships were huge, so Eli got a partner in hosting. Ariana, they did a wonderful job as student MCs from OMS, so a big shout out to them and all the staff that helped to make that possible with the activities and events. Our Boarding High School culinary students rocked it. We did fewer booths, but more food this year, and as you saw, we rationed with tickets. Most of you were there. That stretched it a little bit further, but boy, that food was gone pretty quick still. So we're debriefing and thinking about how we can even add more. Sataikan family brought the fry bread, and the Marquez family, the Kalua pork. They cooked the emu the week before with a couple of whole hogs, so we're really grateful to the family partnerships. We'd love to expand that. The closing act was the Ording Middle School Jazz Band. I just have 15 seconds I thought you'd like to hear. They sound better than most high school programs. It's absolutely insane. If you can hear it, it'll be really good. they're going places. And that program is going to only just thrive when they get to the high school as well. So kudos to Mr. G. National Coach of the Year. I don't know. I think this is new in Ording. I don't think we ever had a National Coach of the Year. But the National Wrestling Coaches Association named Jody Coleman as National Coach of the Year for Section 8. And his assistant coaching staff was named the Assistant Wrestling Coaches of the Year as well, also for Section 8. So shout out to all of those folks. And that's not just representative of them, but the leadership, but the families for every Saturday since those kids were 5, and the junior card programs that grow and feed. They're having great success, and it's really a community effort on that. So we're pretty happy to see that success. I have another video I want to share just because I want to have you see and hear how we're elevating student voice. We're coming off the heels of Certificated Staff Appreciation Week. This was a cool thing that I think Brittany dreamed up, and I love it. She not only solicited input from the local community about staff to recognize, and there were 35, 40 people, so much so that we were just clustering it, but she challenged kids to interview their staff, and I wanted you to see those videos because I think it's pretty sweet. You got better volume on that?
Yeah, it'll.
Ms. Carson, what do you do here?
I am the library tech specialist, so I teach library and then technology, so we do lots with computers and then learning about books and different things in the library, but most of it is technology, so I see 8 to 9 classes a day, 5 days a week, more than 700 students, so we're really busy in the library, but again, it's library/technology.
Nice, that's amazing work you do here.
Thank you.
What is your name and what do you do here?
My name is Michelle Cornea, and I'm an early childhood special education teacher here for ages 3 to 5.
What's your name and what do you do here?
My name is Marianne Portman. I am the Title Lab teacher, so I teach kids how to read.
Mrs. Carlson, what is one thing students might not know you do outside the classroom?
Okay, you may not know that I am a chicken farmer, so I have 23 chickens at my house, and I just incubated eggs and then hatched out baby chicks, so I love chickens, and I am a chicken farmer.
How do you prepare of a day of teaching?
Coffee. Every day I drink coffee, and then I have a team that I work with, and we sit down every morning and talk about what our plan is for the day, any struggles that might have happened the day before or the week before, and any changes we need to make for the upcoming day.
Can you share a memorable moment that makes you proud?
Well, teaching reading, I work with a lot of different students here at Ptarmigan Ridge, and one thing that makes me feel proud is seeing the students read and meeting their reading goals. So that makes me feel proud.
What helps you stay motivated even on busy days?
I love what I do. I've been doing it for about 14 years, and every day is an adventure.
Thanks, certificated staff. Thank you, certificated staff. Thank you, certificated staff.
So as you set these goals, you've set kind of this idea that it doesn't just live some of these measures in a percent, it's in the stories and what's happening. So we just wanted to bring back some of that to you to know how we're trying to actionize that idea of how do we empower kids, how do we empower our staff, how do we elevate those voices. Cool creative idea. What we're going to come up with next year, I don't know, but wanted to get that out there because we really love getting those stories and having kids in the driver's seat talking to the adults that are supporting them. Big news coming out of session. There's not a lot of good news, but this is one of those. We pleaded with our representatives in the 31st and 25th for support and advocacy around the Early Learning Center. And Senators Fortunato, Representatives Penner and Stokesbury, Senator Guild on the 25th were huge. Last year we started the conversation with Representative Barkis in the 25th. So we've been starting this advocacy since 2023, and I'm proud to say that Ording got the largest award of any school district with $4.5 million. That'll help build an 8-classroom early learning facility. That'll allow us to effectively double the amount of early learning students we serve between what we house in Pierce County through the ECAP program. That'll build an 8-classroom modular facility. Pierce County has committed funds for a new ADA accessible playground. And then we have one of 4 districts in the county to get funding for community garden space. If you don't recall, childhood obesity for the youngest learners is an all-time high. And Senator Murray earmarked some funds to the county to help with scratch-based cooking, community-based gardening. How do we help really change the foodscape so families learn how to prepare healthier meals and such? So that will start sometime, and Cliff's not here, but he's going to figure out how to do all this, starting July 1st. So that's part of his new job. We're very appreciative with our representative support. That really wraps up. I know a lot of videos, but a lot to celebrate here as we're wrapping down the school year.
That's amazing. Love it. That's really great news.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yes.
Go, let's go. Fertilizer. Very good.
Thank you very much. And Brittany, well done on those videos.
Yes.
All right, lots of good stuff to talk about. First report of the night, students.
It's short this week, or this month, it's short. But, yeah, we still have it. Do you want to start, or do you want me to start?
You got that.
Okay. So, there's a couple of notes and like little celebration things here that I wanted to mention. Earlier this week, 3 students from Orting High School were recognized as AAUW scholars.
Yeah.
Including me. I got recognized for science, and then Abby Collins for math, and Haiti Crawford for CTE. They were so sweet, and it was like the coolest thing I've gone to. Well, it was cool. That's it was cool. Got to see a lot of people from a lot of other schools, and it was a really good opportunity. And then earlier this month, Jazz performed at the Bellevue Jazz Festival and received 2nd in the art division. It's a little sad because we were so close to getting 1st, but still good. And then earlier today, actually, there was an assembly that recognized all CTE clubs for going to state and their achievements, and I thought that was just, I don't think we've ever done that in previous years that I can really remember. It was kind of like brief, but we had a whole assembly like dedicated to that, and I thought that was a really cool thing to see, and see how, usually those things kind of get overlooked with like sports and other type of activities, but our CTE clubs and other stuff got the recognition today, and it was really cool, and I think a lot of people were really engaged and like noticing how much they're actually doing and how many opportunities they're getting through those clubs, which I definitely learned a lot about clubs today. So that was really cool to see. Band has their last concert next Wednesday on the 21st, and then choir has theirs the following week on the 28th. And then Jaden, you want to talk about sports?
Yes. Okay. So, sports, not a lot is happening, but then also like a lot is kind of happening. So track, many students made it to district, so I'm not sure when they're leaving for that, but softball actually leaves for district tomorrow morning. And then baseball is currently in playoffs. I'm not sure when the next game is, but soccer, they did a lot better than last year. I'm so happy to see all the kids that tried out this year, and I love seeing them just connect. That's something I definitely wish I stayed on this year, but okay. But yeah, so that's basically all I have for sports. Wish them all best of luck.
We also did speak to a handful of students at the high school this last week, and it was very like, not surface level, just very broad, quick type of questions. It was again just, what do you recognize in your school and what do you want to see improve? A lot of students recognize the need for more engagement and spirit within the school, especially engagement within the classroom is like lacking the motivation to do school anymore. I know a lot of people are currently going through that weird slump of like, it's so close to the end, and still it's so far. And so there's very like little motivation to really get through class anymore, which is tying to that whole child and sense of belonging aspect that we've been focusing so much on. like making sure that a student really feels like they make an impact in the classroom that they're in, and that they're like, that the classroom would be different if they weren't in there. I've also realized more recently, I've never heard so many students get excited about a work period rather than lectures and projects and busy work. Just because we're in a weird slump and they're falling behind and then they're catching up, and then also it's like that brain break that you kind of need to reset for like maybe half a class period or something. That's just, I need the time to really process, okay, I have to get this done, and then I have time to get this done. We were just on a testing schedule where we had 2-hour blocks of like intervention time kind of for sophomores to do their testings. And I know a lot of people that really like use that time to get a lot of stuff done. Me included, I finished an essay in a 2-hour block. And so those type of things I realized that are like really helping students. Another thing that students said is spirit, especially within sports and showing up to be there with their peers and other students. For fall season, that volleyball games and football games, everyone is kind of showing up and showing out for those games. But then when it comes to later on seasons of like winter and spring seasons, they're kind of more outdoor, and then there's not really a lot of like, it's not like trend, I guess, to go sit and watch like a softball game or a track meet or other things like that. Especially with some of the seniors this year, they felt as if they were lacking appreciation for what they were involved in, and because a lot of people didn't really show up for their senior nights, or students at least, and just didn't see their student body within the crowd, which was something that they mentioned. That's all I got.
Do you guys do those working blocks throughout the year?
It's only this time of year, because we do the state testing.
Yeah.
So it was the last 3 weeks, I think.
Which I feel like is a lot better than like what we've done in the past, because from experience, coming to school or being in 3 classes for 2 periods, or 2 hours, yeah, that is just insane to me. I could not do that. So I definitely like it a lot this year. And I'm sure other kids did too, so
Good.
I hope that's something that is continued.
I feel like for the seniors, these last weeks, you have all your senior stuff and all your classroom stuff and everything is just heavy this time of year.
Yeah,
So.
school has been feeling very optional lately.
I'm a little sad that your winter sport athletes feel neglected, I guess. Probably not just by the peers, but by others as well. We all know community kind of turns out for, Friday night football and what have you. That makes me a little bit sad. It makes me want to get off my duff a little bit too. But, yeah.
Do you think that is because, do you think winning or losing has anything to do with it?
I don't.
How do you get the kids there? What do you think?
I think it's just like, it's a follow the crowd thing, where everyone goes to the Friday night football games, and it's such a every year tradition, whatever. Oh, it's cool and fun to go, even if they're losing. Half the time people aren't even really watching. People are talking, food. I think a good way to really get other students to go to those games is kind of bring it up to people's attention, make it where people want to have some food there. I don't know. I know a lot of people don't even know what the fields look like, or where they're even going to sit, type of thing. So, just
Make it
advertising.
And yet here our fast pitch and baseball teams are going into the
Yeah.
postseason play, so come on now.
Well, thank you very much for your reports. Appreciate it. I forgot to mention something really cool during our recognition that happened. We had the Soldiers Home bring a band of veterans to the baseball game. I didn't get to see it personally, but I was overjoyed to hear that they had, I don't know if the students invited them or if it was an outing from the Soldiers Home, but I just loved seeing that connection, that community connection.
I saw that, it was really cool. They're all watching it.
Yeah, I saw a picture where the wheelchairs were right up to the backstop, so they could get a good seat in the house. And, yeah, I love that. I hope we do more of that.
Wow, how did they do that? Because the field's about,
I don't know, did they drive their van down to the field so it was easy to navigate?
Yeah, they drove right up. We have handicap parking right by the
yeah,
field.
you have that.
So they pulled right up and unloaded from the van, and it wasn't too bad.
Do you know, did they think of that on their own, or did they get invited, do you know?
They thought of it on their own.
Oh, wow,
Yeah.
that's cool.
But while we were there, we already made plans for the fall,
Oh,
coming to football games.
oh.
Yes, yes, I love that. Very cool, very cool. So yeah, maybe we'll get some more from the Veterans Senior Center. The Soldiers Home. Wow, I got stuck there.
That place.
And just help build up some more crowds for our spring sports. That would be good. I need to get out there too. Good. Perfect. Okay, you guys are kind of down to like weeks. You're down to like weeks. No pressure.
That's why you said optional.
Yeah. Pretend I didn't like, optional. All right.
Optional.
All right, next report we have is the financial report. And the numbers added up to me. All good? All right. Thank you, Director Bannon. And now we have presented by Director Christensen, the semi-annual employee engagement survey.
Appreciate it. Good evening, board and student representatives. As you know, each year we do, for 8 years at least, we have done the employee engagement survey with our approximately 370 employees that work throughout the district. This does go out to everybody throughout our district. And we do it in the spring and the fall. So within the survey, we have 4 different categories that we can choose as employees, with 1 being we just completely strongly disagree, 2 being we disagree, 3 being we agree, and 4 being strongly agree. So we want to look for 3s and 4s and fix the 1s and 2s, right? We want to be able to move this forward. So this year I'm doing it, or this spring I guess, I'm doing it a little bit differently. Typically I bring you the information and it's in a 1-year book. So we look at fall and we look at spring. But quite frankly, I think people have different attitudes in fall and spring. And so I wanted to do a year-over-year look, and I hope that that works for you too. So, but I am going to give you some general information from just this year before we dive into some other slides. So one of the things that we did, that we do each time is we look at people participating in the survey by location. And you can see here that the, it's funny, I paused because I was going to say orange, but it looks red to me up here tonight. So the red, which is PTR, has higher participation. But overall, we have had 158 participate in the fall and 150 employees in the spring. And you'll notice as we go through this and we start looking at last spring versus this spring, that there's been a decrease technically every year with our participation. And part of that, I think, from some of the comments is people really want to, in transparency, just see what is it that we are doing to make a difference. But also, when we, you may remember, you've heard me say this before, when we started doing the employee engagement survey, the company, Qualtrics, that we originally used for this, they said if we could get 30 to 40% participation, that we were doing good, and that was a nice overlay of what it looks like in our environment. And we do still have that, although we are trending pretty close to 40%. So. you can see that our participation is similar at the three schools. It's the other three schools, it's dropped a little bit, but PTL had additional participation. With regard to who participated, so our certificated staff, our classified staff, non-represented, and administrators, boy, those pie charts look pretty similar to me. So I think we are getting a similar grouping of participation as we go through each year. So this is where I've got this slide and the next slide that are just going to share information. Now, I said 1 through 4, but what you're looking for is the red and the blue are one, I'll say it differently. The blues and the reds are 1s and 2s. The yellow and the green are 3s and 4s. So we're looking to trend with 3s and 4s, or yellow and green, being for the answers for the 12 questions that we have. And continue to improve with regard to the blue and red. So this is in the fall of this year. And I know I'm going to flip to the next page and you're not going to have that same look, but believe me, with my eyes, it was not going to work to have them both on the same page. So this is the other one. And I think what you'll see in your packet, or for the audience who might be looking at our board docs online, they can scroll back and forth from this presentation and see that they're somewhat similar. We've had some increases and decreases, but basically it was interesting to find out that if you read the small print at the bottom where it's talking about the various questions, you'll see that there's some growth in ownership. How do I feel about my job and the ownership that I have over doing that job? There's also some growth in, from year to year, in support from supervisors, in communication, and feeling valued. And we've talked a lot about that in the district, and so we're seeing some really good trends. The one that we had a slight decline in is really, and I'll show you in a minute, but we separated some of the questions. You might remember that we had 10 questions before, and we now this year had 12. And that's because we were trying to separate and find out from people, is this happening at your site, or is this a district at large? And one of the things that we saw in the overall trend, if you really dive into it, you'll see that with regard to communication about district level events, we still have some work to do. And that's obviously, not to make excuses, we've got work to do, but it's obviously harder to get the information to every corner of the district versus right in the site where activities are happening. But that was something that we noted. So start diving into some of the questions here. So on this slide, the way that I'm going to present to you is I'm going to take what I consider the 3s and the 4s, and on this slide the colors are all the same for each period. But you'll notice, as I said, that we're looking at spring last year and spring this year. So in my mind, everyone's mood is kind of the same because it's a similar type of year. But the 3s and the 4s are, in every chart that you see, will be to the far right of each of the graphs. So this year, with regard to what employees feel that they've been given the opportunity or that ownership, we know from what I just said that it's gone up. There's 90% of employees in this year that feel that they have ownership over their work. Last year, just slightly lower, it was 86.4, but that shows some improvement. The next one is employees that agree that they are given the resources needed to do their best work. And this year, if you were to combine the 3s and 4s on the right in the spring 2025, you would get 76%, whereas last year it was 68.6. So again, just trending upward. With the next one, we have that employees feel encouraged to come up with new and better ideas. So kind of those efficiency models and such, and we have 77% on that, and you can tell that there's a slight improvement when you look at the left-hand side. So,
Debbie, I don't know all the questions that went into just going back to the I'm given the resources I need to do my best.
yeah.
Do you think our facility constraints play into that?
Yes.
Is that where that would fit?
It was a
Okay.
strong and consistent theme in our comments.
Okay.
So yes.
Okay. Thank you, sorry, I didn't need to go backwards, but I was digesting.
workplace, and that's at 83%, and it's fairly close to what it was last year. It's just a few more are in the fours, which is also a good trend, because in that they strongly agree. The next one is that supervisors provide constructive feedback to support the ability for employees to meet their goals without putting barriers up. And we're at 79%, and last year it was 76.3, but you will note that there are more 3s than 4s in this year's data. So the number went up overall, but people chose agree rather than strongly agree more often. The next one is that employees feel that supervisors are taking time to explain how changes in the organization will impact them. And we're at 70%, 70.7, and last year was 73. So this is referencing what I was talking about earlier, where at least there is some thought that across the organization there wanting more information, they're wanting to be clear on what's going on throughout the organization. The next one is supervisor treats them with respect and supports collaboration across the school or department. And we have 87% for those 3s and 4s combined, and last year was 84. Now this one and the next one are, remember I said there were 10 questions, and now this year we have 12. So this is where it starts being divided. So on slide 16 here, we separated it so that we could look at what does it look like in the work site, and then on the next slide I'll show you what it looks like across the district. So on this one, whether there's good communication at the work site specifically, 72%, and last year, guess what it was? 55. So that's a pretty good trend upward. On the and then for the next one, of course, we don't have last year's spring data because we added the question for fall and spring this year. But we're showing that 65% feel there's good communication, and that's at the district level. The next one is also one that we separated, and we did it as employees feeling valued at the district, but this was, excuse me, let me say that differently. Employees feeling valued of the district, or within the district, but it's at the work site. So how does their boss treat them? And this one we had 78%, and last year 68.7. So this one is new. We've just left it as overall, and it's 76% of our employees feel valued. And the last question that we have for this type of graphing is really, do people feel like they belong? And also important, would they recommend to someone that this is a good place to work? And we saw that 78% of our employees said that they would recommend this and they feel like they belong. Last year, 75.8%, so a slight improvement, but pretty similar. We have 3 open-ended questions at the end of our survey. The first one says, what 2 specific things do you wish could be changed if we could to improve your work experience? And we've not changed the concept of that question, but we have changed the wording just a little bit. Like, we wanted to hone in on this is about you as an employee and your work experience before we didn't have those words at the end. When you look at this, you'll see the things there that they really, communication, curriculum, flexibility. So when they talk about, let's see if I have some here so I can see that part. Allowing creativity, and they really want increased staffing, right? And our jobs are hard, and they want support to be able to do that. And you can see that workload and planning time is important to our staff. They want to ensure fair treatment for all, and they want a culture of appreciation. So that's a growth, continue growing that in our district. Then what's the one thing you don't want us to change? Like, we've got to preserve this. And
Can I ask this one question?
you bet.
Is this, do you have this in the area of like which is the most comments and like this communication?
You know, I don't specifically, and it would be
I just was wondering.
Yeah,
so-
no, it came through authentically as questions, as answers from individuals,
Okay,
and I don't have it.
that's fine.
This is the aggregate. You can kind of tease it a little bit more by site, and that's some of what we do with labor, and then site-based leaders or managers is try to kind of drill it down. That's the aggregate,
Okay.
and then we'll rank sort by site.
I will say with regard to the things that came forward in these last 3 slides, using ChatGPT, really looking at what are the themes, and that was specific, and I went at that a couple of times because I wanted to make sure that I was asking the question the right way and not eliminating anything that's important to our employee base. So these are the slides that you're seeing are the strongest message that I had about that. And then this one is one thing you don't want us to change, and that's our community, sense of belonging, supportive leadership, some autonomy in there. And it's interesting because things that they don't, two things that you could change, you notice some overlap here. So there's some different levels of that we haven't quite gotten underneath yet. I like that on here, one thing not to change, student-centered focus. It's great for our employees. They not only recognize that, but live that. And then effective communication and work-life balance, which continues to be important. And the last question that we had is, what's something that we didn't ask you that you wanted us to know and better support? And it was interesting, I feel like a lot of the questions here they didn't know this because they didn't answer in the same way, right? But from the last 2 questions, you'll see some of the themes coming through. Be sure to ask us about these things because we have more to say on that. Our next steps for the data is to send it to our buildings. Shared it with Cabinet the other day. We'll share it in full with our buildings based on a drill down for their site so that they can talk with their staff and decide where to go from here.
So they do see how this works out just for their building?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And I actually provide the comments specific to their building, I don't create it in
Oh,
themes.
okay.
We would be here well past my bedtime for sure if we went through all of it line by line, but I do provide that authentically.
I was just looking at this, I just have a question. Do we still have a big problem with getting subs?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I need some schools.
Our HR team, Holly Mortensen screens our classified employees and Carrie Joy screens our certificated. They screen every single week and onboard anyone who's eligible and has the time to come in and fill out forms. And although I don't have numbers here tonight, we are wondering what's going on because we will onboard people who are substitutes who have to pay their own money to participate in the background check. And we're having a hard time getting them to engage in one or more sub-assignment. And so we're wondering if people are, at least I'm wondering if people are participating in multiple districts and then wherever they go first. So we're going to figure out how to swoop in. That's our new plan. We're going to hold the first on that. That's what I have for you this evening.
Interesting.
Thank you.
I want to thank you for continuing this survey of the employees. I think it's really important, and I think collectively as a board, we've seen some great improvements.
Yeah.
And it's also to the staff that participate too, thank you for doing that because nobody wants to sit behind a computer at the end of a long day with kids and do more work, but it's very helpful.
Yes.
And I appreciate it a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I'm with you.
no, that's good.
Hearing their voice is important.
Yes.
Yes, very important.
We want to hear that.
And we can't facilitate any changes unless we know.
Yeah. And thank you for putting in the effort to tease out what they mean.
Yeah.
When we see them on both, like, what do you love? And then what do you want to change or see different? It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, why does it look that way? And what are they asking for that's not coming through clearly in those, even in the questions or the responses?
And I like the spring to spring because you're right. There's a whole
Yeah,
different attitude
yeah.
involved in the rest of the spring.
Well, they truly wanted to know, right?
Yeah.
Just not as the year goes on and there's some periods of disillusionment, right? That people just naturally have in they get up for the day, whether they're staff or students. So just wanted to compare kind of how we feeling in May each year.
There was a phrase that I wanted a little more context on. It was, I'm trying to find which slide it was, asking for workplace privacy. And I wasn't sure what that was. Oh, on slide 21, it was 2 specific things do you wish could be changed? And it was facilities and environment. And it said workspace privacy. I was curious what you meant by that.
I recall some of those responses, and it was having to do with employees who work in close quarters and feel like their computer or office area is observed by others in a way that may not be as supportive as they would like.
Okay. I can understand that. Okay. That's helpful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Address air conditioning.
Air conditioning is a theme, for real.
Oh,
And
I'm sure
that was
it
on there
is.
last year too. It rose to the top.
I
even
know,
though
I don't blame them.
Okay.
We're gonna have to invest in
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I am glad we continue to do this. And then also, like sometimes changes occur, but maybe they're not always tied back to the ask. I think that's always been a hard thing for any kind of employee survey environment is tying back that change. Maybe we, added some additional time for communication that's not tied back to an improvement from the survey.
Right.
I think that's hard. So it's hard to ask, and that's so important to ask.
And there's so many things that are out of our control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't do anything about privacy, but you don't have to.
All right. Good stuff. Okay, consent agenda. There's no discussion on these items. So, motion.
I move to approve items 1 through 5 on the consent agenda.
Second?
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Under action items, we have the 26-27 calendar.
It's the once a year appearance.
Yes.
I'm so happy you started.
Well, thank you so much for allowing me to be back here for my once-a-year appearance with the calendar committee. I do want to say thank you to the other people that are part of the process, working with Debbie and Holly in quite a bit. And then I had a new person this year, and Erin, working with us. And one of the things this year, honestly, we had an easy job. Sometimes the calendar just falls naturally in places where it doesn't make it a challenging situation, and this year was one of those. So I think you'll see that in the documents to make our life a little bit easier. So our group worked together. We talked about key dates. We tried to pull some neighboring calendars. One of our challenges is, as Orleans tried to be ahead of the game on the calendar front, we are running into the fact that our neighboring districts haven't created calendars as far away. I know in my last athletics meeting, one of the districts, they don't even have next year's calendar approved yet.
Oh.
And so we are definitely in a better spot, so that was awesome. But based off of that, we did just kind of look at the trends we know from year to year. One thing about being back here every year is before the process even starts, we kind of know what our staff tends to like, and it gives us some places to start, so that helps. When we worked on our process very quickly, it was obvious both within the staff and the community that things were lining up. So when it came time to actually create calendars, we didn't have to create as many as we normally would because there just wasn't as much to create. So when we looked at the initial survey results, you'll see that the staff and community were actually closer than they've often been. And so that was kind of nice. It was, again, clear across the board that what people wanted. The only thing that was maybe not super clear was the first day of school amongst staff. There was a little question if people preferred the first or the second. But when
at spring break, when you look at the snow makeup day, we gave them a chance to move it. Everybody says we need a day off in March. So we gave them the option, but when they realized that meant that the long weekend wouldn't be as long, they decided, and parents, big time, did not want that separate day off. They definitely preferred to have the day attached to a long weekend. You can see with that 80 to 20% vote. So all of our calendars shared the majority of the dates. You can see all legal holidays are on it. Thanksgiving with the no school the day beforehand. Our winter break would be the 2 weeks with the 3 weekends. It falls naturally this year. And then we would continue with the non-school day at the semester break day. Basically, when our contracts changed, it used to be we had kind of a grading day to do our report cards, and when the contracts changed a few years ago, that opportunity went away, and so teachers were like, we need a day to finish up semester 1 and do semester 2, so it's a non-paid day when they choose to do that work, but at least there's a day that they could come in and work in their classrooms and really be ready. Because if you, for instance, middle school PE, when our kids all start over, it's like the first day of school again when the semester starts. And so for those teachers in particular, I think that's a really nice added bonus. And then we have the professional development days, keeping the 3 days in August as we have had. And then the additional day also attaches to that long weekend as we see parents. I think they prefer when they can clump their needs for daycare, that type of thing. And then we have kept the 2 snow makeup days where they have been, which is also attached to the long weekends. So when we put out the voting, we only had the 2 calendars, and the only difference in those calendars was the start day of school. And you can see in the voting that we had that there was strong support to go ahead and start school on Tuesday the 1st instead of waiting until Wednesday. And so in either case, you were starting before Labor Day because Labor Day is so late. And so people were like, well, as long as we're coming back, we'll go on Tuesday. We didn't start on Monday because that falls in August, and so that has some of its own challenges when you start in August instead of September 1. And so we did not give them an option of Monday. So we are asking that you would support calendar option A, which is that we would start school on Tuesday, September 1st, which does make it so our last day of school would fall on Wednesday, June 16th. Gives you the 17th if we had a bad winter day, you've got another day there at the end before you would have to navigate what to do next. So that is our ask, and I am here to answer any questions if you have any. As we know, like I said, this one just was, everything just kind of fell in place this year. It was just a lot of clear dates.
Any questions?
How long does it typically take you, just out of curiosity? Like,
2.
yeah.
This was a fast, I mean, literally, we had, 3 different meetings where all of us, I think, sat and talked. I wrote the first calendar before I ever sat down and met with any of them, and I was wrong. I thought people would pick Wednesday. They like that 3-day week, 4-day week, 5-day week. They've done that a lot in the past. The difference is they see the last day of school is the 16th or the 17th, and that, for a lot of people, checks the box.
I'm just curious, because it's so detailed, and there's a lot of information that you're getting from people. It's just...
The survey process has made it so much simpler, and then Holly and Debbie and I have worked together on it now for quite a bit of time, and Holly and I will send things back and forth, and we're editing things, and it's like, okay, we got it right now, let's send it to the next group. So it's a great team effort, and we do get pretty good response from our staff. They vote really quickly. I think a goal for next year is to get our community to have a better response. We did not have a high number this year, that probably one of the worst ones we've had, and yet you would think with social media and things and pushing it out, we could get that response better. But this was not a high response year. The nice thing was the ones that did respond were on the same wavelength as the employees, so that made it easier. Because that is a challenge when our teachers have a different site than what our community has, and then we have to try to balance it too, for sure. So,
Well, thank you very much.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Carter.
For that, I will accept the motion. I move to accept option A as recommended for the 2026-27 academic calendar from the presentation tonight.
I second it.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. I have also people in other districts that are jealous of the forethought that we have so they can plan their family activities. Since school's not optional. All right. Interscholastic activities is our next action item presented by Mr. Pauling. I thought you were just hanging out.
Just likes to.
Yeah.
Hi. Hi guys.
Long time no see.
So you guys have the report that was already with you. I think last year I did like a couple of highlights and gave you guys questions. You want me to do the same thing again, or would you prefer just to go with questions?
I like highlights.
Okay. The second year doing this, a lot of it is very similar. On the second page, it talks about the spring OSE athletic department's administration of an interest survey. We have to do that once every 3 years. This year, this spring is our next opportunity. So I summarized what has happened 3 years ago, and then below it talks about that we will be administering the OSPI's athletic interest survey before the end of the year. That information drives what we decide to do next year athletically. In here, I talked about there's a growing interest for flag football. We applied for a grant last year from the Seattle Seahawks and received a grant for when we start flag football, if we start flag football. But based on that interest, I think that would probably drive whether or not that's an option. And once we get that information back, then we'll decide what to do from there. But that might be an option in the future. Considering later on there, it talks about in the report, it talks that females are underrepresented athletic group at the high school, and males are the underrepresented group at the middle school. So in there, it talks about the things we've done in the past to mitigate some of that discrepancy. We added gymnastics last year for 2 female gymnasts who this year decided not to do gymnastics, even though we had the co-op with Sumner again this year as an option. And then we have a bowling team that we added that is continuing to grow. We have to talk about how far we let bowlers go because in numbers, because Daffodil has restricted our number of lanes. So last year we had 6 lanes to do whatever we wanted with, and because other schools are using Daffodil, they cut us down to 2 lanes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So you guys know Mr. Nasnik. If you met Mr. Nasnik, he's a great guy. He was able to figure out some creative ways to get everyone on the lanes as often as he could, and still support a team that took 5th in state. So, and at the middle school level, to help with the discrepancy in male athletes, we added boys cross country and boys soccer in the last few years, and the boys cross country numbers are growing. Mrs. Buckholz can attest to that, and she's doing a really good job.
March 7th, yes.
Yeah,
There's a
yeah.
lot.
Anyway, the next thing I'd like to talk about is the handbook. So this year we started parent nights for fall sports at the high school. So we did a fall sports parent night where we met with all the parents that showed up, and then all of the coaches did their parent meeting all on the same night, the same location, to try and get more people to show up on the same night. Also to get information out about the student handbook and expectations in that. And so we did that fall, winter, and spring. In the spring meeting, we took a time during the spring meeting to talk about updating the athletic code. So we're in the process of updating the athletic code using parent feedback, student feedback, community feedback, coaches feedback, and staff. We gave a Google survey asking them what areas of the student handbook they wanted to change, what they liked, what they disliked. And so we're in the process of taking that data and turning it into a document that we could bring to you guys in June or July. So that's where we're at with the athletic code. Talked about the underrepresented represented groups. On the last page of the document, it talks about athletic challenges. So some of those challenges are the same as they were last year. Challenges, and there's always a challenge in hiring coaches, hiring good coaches, hiring coaches that have the same goals and values that our school represents, to make sure that athletic programs have those same goals and values. What's important, student athletes or classroom-based athletics, things like that. The age and safety of our athletics facilities, you guys already know that because of the bond report, things like that. And then some facility issues at the middle school, the sharing of the stadium for middle school and high school athletes is becoming more difficult with the number of athletes that are participating. This year we were pushing 100 high school track athletes, while the middle school football team was practicing and the high school soccer team was all practicing at the same time in the stadium. So it gets a little bit hectic, but our coaches do a good job. But there's only so much you can do. So adding another soccer/football field at the middle school, in my opinion, is a high priority, but we're able to continue to make it work right now. That would be probably something in the future.
Can I ask one question about that? So, the field back behind, what exactly, is that wetlands now? Or I was just wondering about it because.
No, it's not wetlands.
That's where the cows are.
Cow pasture.
I know. I was thinking, could we use that field?
We're looking at every option. We have had 2 meetings so far this spring talking about middle school athletics and facilities, and we're brainstorming ideas to make it work. We're painting a middle school, we're painting football lines at the high school down here so that on Mondays the football team can practice here. And we have a great partner in Ording, the city of Ording, allowing us to use Gratzer Fields, Gratzer Park. So we use it in the fall for baseball, and then this year we used it for soccer in the winter. And they allowed us to paint lines out there and have soccer fields and soccer goals. It was really good. The City of Ording's partnership with Ording School District is really, really good. And so, and then celebrations, I'm sure you guys have seen it, but we've gotten lots of compliments about the Ording Cardinals banner. Banners in the stadium as you come into town.
That's good.
So that's a real good one. Let's see here. We had a former graduate, Isaac Jones, who was drafted by the Sacramento Kings, donated basketball shoes to our varsity boys and girls basketball teams. He still hasn't got us his signed Sacramento Kings jersey to put up in the lobby of the gym, but it's coming. And we also did a renovation to the boys baseball and girls softball dugouts. So those look really good. That was a community partnership. We had some donations of lumber. Our maintenance department with Curtis Nybo and his staff were able during the winter to prefab a lot of the walls and roof in the shop during the winter when it's raining. And so when it stopped raining and we had support from our baseball and softball teams, we were able to put those dugouts. We were take them down and put them back up, renovate them in very short order. And we're slowly getting them completed. So we got the majority of it done, and then there's still some leftover things that need to be done. And then, of course, you guys already recognized our boys wrestling team. Our boys wrestling team is, 4-time state champions and with lots of individual state champions, but now they're being recognized at the national level, being as a team being ranked nationally, and then also being nationally recognized as a coaching staff and as head coach. Good things. Since a couple of things were brought up earlier, we had a great partnership with the senior night for softball, senior night for baseball, and the parent groups that were there supporting, and the Soldiers Home who brought people down. It was probably our best spring event with participation and fans and people there. And they were great baseball and softball games. Let's see. I can't walk away without thanking Beth Beltry, who is our facilities coordinator, and she helps register all of our students for athletics. Sandy Graziani, who's our school nurse at the high school and does all of our athletic medical registration and clearance. And then Karen Buchholz at the middle school, who's our athletic coordinator. And then again, all of our maintenance guys that take care of our fields and prepare our facilities. So.
I don't know if this is happening next year, but some of the kids were talking about that the rules have changed for transfers. Is that a thing?
I'm learning about transfers and students and
Okay,
all of that
I
stuff
know, they were
on a
just talking
daily
about it, and
basis,
I'm like,
yes.
what?
So there were a number of amendments that we voted on this year through the WIA, and one of those was a transfer rule. Most of the transfer rules have stayed the same. This is in addition for people who want to transfer after they've established athletic residency at the high school level. According to the new amendment, they can change schools if the school accepts them, because that's a really important part that parents don't understand always, because some schools don't accept, every student who wants to apply. So if they want to transfer during the summer, they can transfer during the summer if the school accepts them, and then whatever sport that they were a varsity participant in, they have to sit out 40% of the season. Is basically, so you can transfer only during the summer, not during the year. You can transfer during the summer, but you must sit out 40% of whatever varsity season you participated in. So football, 4 games out of a 10-game schedule, and so on and so forth, 8 games out of a 20-game schedule. But if they want to transfer during the year, all the rules are the same.
Okay.
And there's still a transfer break, the natural break between middle school and high school, either between 8th and 9th grade or 9th and 10th grade, depending if you come from a junior high.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm learning a lot.
I know, I was like, wow, that's a good one. Well, I just want to say thank you for all you do. I think you're doing a great job, and we can see it in so many different areas. And like Carrie said, we always see you everywhere, and you work with the coaches, and you want the best teams, and I just like what you do, so thank you.
Thank you.
I think a lot of us don't really know exactly how time-consuming this particular job is, but you were about.
Oh, thank you.
I was a little bit curious with the lacrosse growing the way it is that on the horizon that
Yeah.
they're looking at bringing that as a sport?
There is growing support for lacrosse. Right as we currently sit, the WIA there's no amendment to add lacrosse to the WIA list of sports. So someone would have to propose an amendment to get it in. Sometimes an amendment like that comes with a 2-year trial, but I'm not sure if the lacrosse, like USA Lacrosse, I don't know if they want to do that or if they don't want to do it. I don't know exactly the ins and outs. But right now there's nothing on the horizon to add it as a sport, so it would probably end up staying as a club for most schools like what we do.
I think it would be cool to have. I just hope they wait till we have more space.
Lacrosse is an interesting one because they practice in the evenings after everybody else is done practicing.
Okay.
Part of that has to do with them being a club and kind of priority of the fields. But our lacrosse team our Ording Lacrosse Club is thriving. If you drive by on a Saturday, there's 3-4 games on a Saturday at home. Our high school club lacrosse team is doing really well. They play they play Saturday with a chance to make it to the semifinals and the championships that come after that. So we might see our lacrosse team playing in the state championship for the second time in 4 years.
That's great.
So, I did want to say, I know that our student board representatives brought up spirit and school spirit and fans at games and stuff like that. This year I joined 2 sportsmanship committees, one at the league level and one at the state level. And they break sportsmanship into 3 different categories, and one of those is promotion of sports. And we really talk about how to get kids to games and how to get them to cheer the right way and say the right thing. Some of it comes with some sportsmanship codes, but we have some plans on the horizon sportsmanship-wise that might be able to get our kids more motivated to be at games.
I've wondered, we try so hard to have kids be engaged in something, whether it's at the middle school or the high school. Everybody's got their clubs and their activities while the games are happening. So I just wonder if our student body might be spread thin over all these activities. which is good. I love them in the activities.
Yeah, we have a tremendous number of athletes participating. We have 120 middle school volleyball players right now. 10 JV C, so 10 C teams, 1 JV, 1 varsity team. So there might be a little bit of that being spread thin. But we can do a better job to promote, I think. We are looking at adding a program to help our social media account. Erin Saluka runs all of our social media at the high school, and we're trying to provide her with tools to make our social media posts more professional looking, that are more enticing and kind of get people, oh, wow, what is that? Let me see what that is, and promote our athletics and activities. So if you guys are on social media, look for some of those. There's been a couple of them out already, so.
In the middle school volleyball evenings, it's real hard to find parking at the middle school if you're there for something else,
Yeah, you would never believe that parking after school would be an issue, right? So we ran into a couple issues with the parent pickup for Ptarmigan Ridge, and parents trying to show up to watch games that start at 3:30. So our Ptarmigan Ridge principal and vice principal, they've done a really good job of getting the word out and cordoning off that road in between as a one-way direction. And then our parents and fans were really gracious at understanding where to go and what to do. So we've run into a couple snafus, but for the most part, it's been really good.
It's pretty amazing, actually, that you can even do it, because I've been down there and there's like 4 different events going on. I'm just like, oh my God, it's like, the whole field's like using 3 things, and then you've got somebody over on the grass over here, and then in the building, I'm like, I don't know,
It's a good problem to have.
Yeah, that's true. Great problem. Start the shuttle service or something.
Yeah.
Be like Puyallup, they're already parking in the yards. $5 for parking in the school. All right, I appreciate you going through the highlights. We do have a report. I did read it, but I think it's important to tell the story through the bullet points, and also for our community to access this meeting and hear about it too. It's important. So thank you. Thanks. Any other questions? Okay. We have an action item.
I move to approve the interscholastic activities program.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Keep going. Director Rab.
Yes, I brought some friends with me.
Friends, yes.
Come on up, friends. We're pleased to bring to you a request for your approval for a couple of curriculum adoptions based on the recommendations that these fine HQTs will talk to you about. That's an acronym for high quality teachers. Just made that up, pretty good. We started out the year with 3 processes, three pilots, OMS Social Studies, OMS Science, and OHS Math. We ended with 2 proposals. OMS Social Studies would like a little bit more time to look at materials. So about a year from now, my colleague over there will probably be bringing something to you around the middle school social studies, possibly ELA at the middle school, and elementary science as well. But tonight, we have middle school science and high school mathematics, and I'm going to let our colleagues talk about this because our system is very teacher-driven. You know, and it's a great thing about, one of the things about being a small system is you really have the ability to involve the teachers in this. They're the ones that, this is their tool. These are the tools that they use to teach, and they're the best ones to make some of the judgment. We provide the structure and the support around that, but it's really them that do the work, and so they'll talk to you about the process they went through. But I just wanted to affirm to you as a board, the process involves every element of the board policy towards this, in terms of screening the material, testing the material, making the recommendation. We had the Instructional Materials Committee a couple of weeks ago, got the approval from the Instructional Materials Committee, and now the decision lands in your lap. I'd like to start with Elliot Scaife, who is our OMS, one of our OMS science teachers. He's going to talk a little bit about the middle school science process, and then take any questions you have about that. and then I'll turn it over to I'll introduce our high school people, and we'll go from there.
Right, thank you. So for science, this has been a long process that we've been going through.
Pre-COVID,
We
right?
started, 2019, we started the process. And then it got interrupted with the pandemic. And it kind of got put on hold. And we're just kind of floating in like an area of limbo to try and use some old stuff that we had until last school year. We finally came together as a curriculum group, which included myself, 2 other middle school teachers, and 2 high school teachers. And so we had, throughout the year, we had 3 in-person meetings, but we also did some work on our own. And we really evaluated and looked at a bunch of different curriculums. Online, looked at the resources, they sent us some resources, we kind of looked through their books and things that they had. And we evaluated those for the NGSS standards, in particular looking at how they hit the 3 dimensions of NGSS. And then we narrowed that down to 2 specific curriculums for the middle school that we wanted to pilot, which was Savas and Amplify. And so we have been piloting them this year. And we did the first semester, we piloted Savas, and the second semester, which we're finishing up the pilot now, with Amplify. And as we piloted those, we kind of were going through the lessons, just really, this is as if it was our curriculum, right? To see what they would do, or how they would teach, how the lessons would work, how the kids would respond to it, how well they would learn the material. We then evaluated those on a rubric that assessed how they hit the NGSS standards and how they make their connections to the SEPs, CCCs, and DCS, which is the science and engineering practices, the cross-cutting concepts, and the disciplinary core ideas within science, so the 3 dimensions. And in doing that, they were both effective, but as a team and through the evaluation rubric that we use, Amplify scored higher, particularly in the aspect of its alignment to the NGSS standards. And so that is the one that we ended up recommending to the instructional materials committee, and then that's the one that we are seeking approval for.
Does it have a piece of AI connected to it at all, the curriculum?
Not that they mentioned. They do have a really strong online platform, which is like continuously updated. It's not just like, oh, well, here's like a book, and then we get a new edition in a few years. Like the online program, it's like updated throughout the year. They are on the forefront of like science.
The materials are on display. Out here we have a public display set up for both the science and the math. And we want to, if you ever have a chance, you want to take a look at it. Thank you, sir.
I wanted to say, I'm really glad you used the national science standards. Those are really well constructed. Yeah. And I like their approach to the 3-pronged.
Yeah.
That's great.
Based and getting kids involved in real world scenarios.
Yeah, they're really especially with their science and engineering practices.
Yes,
Like
yes.
applies, gives them a lot of like real world application.
Yes.
And so this is for all middle school grades, correct?
Yes, 6 through 8.
And the high school teachers, they like this mix too?
Yes, they were helping us look, because as we evaluated what we
Right.
wanted, then they could see like, okay, well, how does this fit into our high school program?
Right.
And one shift that we did was switch to disciplinary teaching. So 6th grade is our earth science, 7th grade is our physical science, and 8th grade is our life science, which kind of mirrors then how they learned it in high school, so it makes a nice flow.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Is that the first time that's been done here in this way, like incorporated?
It was probably maybe done prior to me getting here, but it was mixed when I came. So it was kind of blended through the kits that we had involved, and then they unblended it and created the discipline process. A lot of systems do it that way.
I think it's a fantastic way to put the students first and make
learning a little bit easier.
All right, next up, I'd like to introduce Kayla Jaco and Bethany Walker to you. They're going to talk about Carnegie Math. When I started here in Orting, the first curriculum adoption I did was high school math. And so as I walk out the door, we have another high school math adoption. You might be wondering why that happened within that time. There's probably different reasons, but from my perspective, it's the growth in the mindset of our teachers. I think what they've learned about what needs to happen with mathematics to get kids involved and increase their agency and their ownership and their engagement in the mathematics, they really need materials that provide the teachers the resources to teach that way, but I will let you guys talk about that.
I apologize, 1 second. I had a question and
Sorry.
forgive me for not mentioning it about the science program. On grade 8, it says $43,500 and it says this will be partially to fully paid through CTE, and I was just curious if you knew the break in that. Like what portion would be paid through CTE?
Which is the 8th grade.
8th grade.
Yeah, the 8th grade
It's
physical
the 8th
science.
grade, yeah.
All
So
of it.
if we looked at the purchase order, you could see the.
All of it, okay.
Yeah.
Because of the engineering
Yeah.
aspect?
No, Nat has worked with middle school to get that course qualified as a CTE course and get the framework approved, which opens up increased CTE funding. So the FTE in CTE at the middle school has dramatically increased, and that's why we can allocate funding in that regard. And in fact, they have to. They have a lot of money that they need to spend, so they'll be fully covered by CTE.
I don't hear that a lot.
Yeah.
No.
We also just we're in the process of getting the 7th grade CTE as
Oh,
well
okay.
for the
Okay.
physical sciences. We're submitting a framework for that
Perfect.
this year.
That's good. Sorry for the delayed question. I mean, there was something in here I wanted to ask about. I just
Yeah,
hadn't
no, that's a good question.
scrolled far enough yet. Thank you. Ladies, I apologize.
Hello, okay, so I'm Kayla Jaco, and this is Bethany Walker. We started the curriculum adoption process last year where we screened through a lot of different math curriculums and we looked at the ones that were the top rated, especially for conceptual understanding. And so we narrowed that down to a couple. We were looking into, similar to the middle school, illustrative math, but they don't have the integrated math system, which is really important for the SBA being in 10th grade. Doing the traditional algebra, geometry, algebra takes 3 years, and so they don't get all the material they need by the 10th grade. So we wanted to stick with an integrated math approach, so integrated math 1 and integrated math 2, cover all the information they need for the SBA by 10th grade instead of by the 3rd year. And so that really helped us narrow down. We've looked at Agile Minds in the past. We've had experience with that, and it was really good. It was lacking some things that we were still looking for. It had great conceptual understanding, but not a lot of procedural. And we want a good balance of both of that. And that got us down to Carnegie, and it's one of the top-rated ones, as we said. And so we wanted to try that out this year, pilot it, and see how things go. And what we found was.
Okay, so we piloted Integrated 1, so that's our freshman math all year, and I'm on that team. And then we took a unit, we found quadratics is our most essential, and so we really piloted that with Integrated 2. And so we have found that, math is changing how we think back when we were students, it's just like direct instruction, right? You memorize and then you just are expected to do that. You weren't given chances to think critically and critique and debate about well, I came up with this process, I came up with this one, but we all found the same solution. And so Carnegie does a good job in the textbook to really emphasize, the student thought this way, the student thought this way. Can we create some, oh yeah, I thought this way and I got the same right. Oh, I got this way, and so it opens that up because there's all these different type of learners that it's not just one way anymore. So it really scaffolds for individualized, but also a whole group setting, and then also that collaboration that we need outside of math class and in the real world too. And really defend our differences, how we think, and that creative piece that we can't get in a regular original textbook.
It also, we kind of talked about this at the, well, the year guys, when you guys came to the high school and visited, but it has a great component for intervention, like individualized intervention, because it has these online aspects called NAPIA, where they have some adaptive work with it, where students who struggle versus are getting it, it has step-by-step things, so even if you continue to struggle, it helps, and you keep going until you master it. And so some people, that might take 2 or 3 problems, some people might take 5 to 7 problems. And it helps us when we're in the class live view, it actually shows us, ooh, this kid is taking a long time on this and really struggling, flags them so we know who to go to spend that precious time, because we only get 50 minutes with them a day, you know. And so it helps us identify those. It also has other interventions, like if students are absent and they miss the lessons, because a lot of it is, like she said, this conceptual, critiquing it with the class and discussion based so that they can find their understanding. So it's really hard when you're not present. But they do have, not as awesome as being there in person, because that's always the best choice. Not on the math stream that it has the lessons for them. If they're absent, they can go on and do the math stream to get some of the things that they're missing. So it has a lot of great options for kids, and it even has things where if they are getting it and they need to push some of that extension and enrichment, right? So that they can do some of the things enriching them for people who are okay, we're getting it. Lots of great interventions.
And then, last and finally, because of how the curriculum is made, all those little tasks, it's hard to find a curriculum, especially with absences, as we mentioned. It's not just conceptual, so it's just, if you walk in and we've spent 2 days on one conceptual idea, it's going to be hard to really follow what it's doing. So it's an even balance with procedural. There's online skills practice for the formative part, and then there's also a skills test bank, as well as a pre-test, a post-test, and then also different test versions. So that way we have a lot of practice, so we're not looking at CUDA all the time. And then also Carnegie met with the leader of building thinking classrooms. And so it really opens that you're not just sitting down taking notes and writing on paper. It gives these innovation where students can really stand up on whiteboards, so it's less permanent, and really thinking and talking at whiteboards. So when you walk into classroom, you're seeing that more often than before. So that kind of helps teachers as well, and we can assess as needed.
We are sending a bunch of teachers to that Building Thinking's classroom. The national conference is in Renton this year, and we've already registered to have 30-some teachers that are going to it. And the last conversation I had with Carnegie Math, they're building this relationship with Peter, who's the creator of this, to get the curriculum endorsed by him and actually eventually have some of the pieces modified so they even represent this even more. So this is a really great investment to the pedagogical kinds of things that we'd like to see happening in mathematics classrooms. We use the same Building Thinking classroom instructional routines in the illustrative math in the middle school as well. So, and we got a bunch of elementary teachers going to it this summer, so we'll be building off of that as well.
Any questions? Well, I just wanted to say that, first of all, I learned a lot from last time you guys presented, so I feel like I know much more about it than I would have. And I like what you have to say. Math is always hard, right? It's everybody always kind of struggles with that curriculum and everything, but I'm excited to see that we're getting something that's more engaging, that does a better job with intervention and things, so thank you for that.
Yeah, and some here that touches on all learners, which is what I heard when you presented before, is a way of engaging kids at every level and not time, moving forward and letting kids get lost. So I appreciate that.
Those critical thinking skills, I think that's one of the things that I remember from the presentation at the high school. And it was me that complained my boss needed to be there. But to think about that, because math is really hard, and memorizing it just doesn't work. That never worked for me, but I'm very much a critical thinker, and I can think my way into a solution much easier than I can memorizing PEMDAS or anything like that. So I'm excited, and I'm excited for the students that will get to learn under that curriculum.
Yeah.
Something they said in their introduction shouldn't be lost on any of us, which is the way that they were taught math, right? And so the way we were taught math, the people that it worked with for, the way that it was taught, they became math teachers because they were really good at math, and they were like they were of the rare group that was good in math and became math teachers. So you do have math teachers that were trained in ways of procedural, and then procedural builds conceptual, but they're the ones standing here and saying, that's not working for my kids. So they're unlearning some of the way that they learned the math to actually be able to relearn, to teach the kids like us that were like just hanging on until the end of the semester and then the year, right?
I'm hoping you got a grade that you can graduate.
Yes.
So when they talk about that conception, when you're doing with conceptual understanding, we call that conceptual Velcro. So it just builds that foundation for all those little pieces to get sticky and stay with us. So the fact that they're taking this step, and that was the big evolution for me, because we weren't quite there in our first math adoption. We're there now, and that's a big celebration.
Especially like the team.
Yep.
The team is all
Yep.
accepting.
Really excited about it too.
It
Yeah.
makes a big difference.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
I think that means a big highlight. It's really hard for us as adults to change the way we want to do something. So kudos to all of you guys and your teams out there.
The future is very bright in the areas of STEM learning. Both the middle school, high school programs are very strong, and then the partnership with Career Tech Ed, coupled with your vision for future facilities and an ask of the community, I'm just really excited about the trajectory of where we're going. Amazing folks doing this work every day. Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I don't know if it was board meeting, but you all are wearing green.
I know. That's true.
Yeah, you are.
So
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
Silly though.
This is the question I'm being received through you, I'm looking at the cost. And so my understanding is, would be this approval that we will pay for this over 3 years, both the science and the math.
Yes.
That's the.
Correct.
3 years, okay.
There's a little bit with the science, the cost for the first year is higher with the science because we're buying the kits.
Yeah.
So that cost is higher, but then the next 2 years are the same cost. And the Carnegie is split over 3 years. Then we'll add professional learning to that as well, that we're still creating and working on.
I was going to ask, the codes don't include professional development?
No, not at this point.
Unfortunately, Director Bannon's magic money tree died, but we will be looking for a new magic money tree to help pay for these materials.
Can I get math into CCT?
Is that
I appreciate, Steve, thank you for leading the process for evaluating the curriculum components. I think all of us have expressed a strong desire to level up our academic performances, and with that ask of our staff comes the need for new resources. So it is a big investment, but we've got to, we put our money where our mouth is. So students first, absolutely. So with that, if there's no questions or further discussions, I will ask for a motion.
I move to approve the recommended curriculum for adoption.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Congratulations. You have work to do.
Steve will be checking in on you, Mr. Lee, to make sure that
That's
you're.
right, that's right. Somebody here's got work to do.
Work to do for the next
month.
Steve could just call next year, how's it going?
Right. Excellent. All right, I don't know why you went and sat down, Director Rabb. Oh, this is prepared by.
Yeah, I can answer any questions if you've got them, but.
Okay. All right, so this is our alternative learning experience, and if there's no questions or discussions, I didn't see any come through, then I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve the alternative learning experience program.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. All right. Board comments. So I have one topic for discussion regarding graduation, but I'd like to open the floor and see if there's anything else any of you would like to.
I commented throughout the night.
So every year we need to talk about graduation because it's gonna happen, whether we're on stage or not. And each year it's been our honor to hand the diploma covers to graduating seniors. There are parts of it that I have loved and that have gone really well. I've been particularly proud of our board's connections with our students that have been formed over years. There's parts of it that do not go well. The kids are coming fast across the stage. We're trying to switch positions and make sure that every student has a solid picture that they can keep for millennia. So I wanted to get the questions on the table. Do we want to do it similar to what we've done in the past? Is it important for us to hand a diploma cover to the students? Or are you interested in changing things up?
I'm interested in changing things up to make it less chaotic up there for the students. That's just my personal, I love being there, I love watching graduation, but I am perfectly happy sitting down or handing, just to keep less movement up there from us. I think it's a distraction for some students, and I think a couple of times we've had a student left up there with nobody giving them. It takes, not that they don't ever get it, but that just gives me kind of a sick feeling in my stomach. So whatever we can do to give the most connection from the board members who have the closest ties, I really don't. So I'm perfectly happy to take a step back and more and of a helper or observer and keep.
Is it, you've been through it longer than I have, but was it helpful to have, so it handed to you or no? Was that more of a?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So sometimes that works really well. I think it's worse turning and grabbing.
Yeah, that's what I think is.
Like going, oh,
you
no.
know, like this, and, yeah, and then you're trying to do the right shake and the, yeah, so I was just wondering, like, if you were just like, you had someone that just was handing, but then I was thinking, well, you still have to turn around, I guess, to grab it, so I don't know if that would help or not.
It worked. What makes it a little bit challenging, the reach and grab is one time you've got kids coming from this way, the next time you've got kids coming from this way. So we're constantly out of what I consider to be like out of position.
Yeah.
So we're trying to get oriented and back to the camera with the students, so it can be tricky.
It's hard, because I really like to hand them out because it's, the kids, it's nice.
Yeah.
It's a fun thing, but I know that it can get chaotic too, so it's like, and it seemed like last year we weren't quite sure on how many we had, we were sure, but we didn't quite follow the sure of how many we're supposed to hand out at one time, and so then.
But I think the pacing of calling the student's name and coming from both sides it's so quick that even if you knew that 10,
Yeah.
moving out of the way, getting somebody else up front, it just makes for
That's where it
a
gets
chaotic and then too often a miss.
Yes.
So it comes in on the sides and then they go down the middle.
Would you, do you think it would work to have a board member kind of, sort of at each corner of the table where you're greeting the student? And then, so that, you know, maybe the board members are kind of alternating in the middle with the student? So you have two people kind of handing one for each side.
For each side instead of one person.
That's an idea.
Would that make,
Yeah.
maybe,
That would
Yeah.
probably
practice?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be a good idea.
We still have to somehow get to the middle because that's where they're going up, off the stage.
And
But
that's
if you
where,
had-
that's where the photographer
But
is.
if you
too.
only had, if I was on the right and Kathy was on the left, and you have a student coming on the right, then, you know, I'm up center, and then could fall back as she's going up with.
While
the-
you're getting the other cover.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could work. I like that idea. Yeah.
And they would always be oriented towards the photographer,
Yeah.
like Mike
And you would
pointed out.
Okay.
Because that was the hard thing, was that this way, and then you'd have to, the kids would be like,
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah, is to make sure that the kids are oriented one way when they come on the stage, but then you got to be
They gotta
oriented
turn.
towards
Yeah.
the photographer.
Yeah, so the natural progression would be easier for them too. Yeah.
So I'm kind of hearing an interest of the board to continue to hand out the covers. Part of our conversations with Renee and the whole entourage of photographers, our speakers and things like that. We'll move forward with that in mind. There's some things that potentially we can consider in terms of who takes the pictures and where are they. We want everyone to have their moment, I heard. So we either need to think about the connection between admin and the announcers of the names to make sure if there's a backup that we pause and we're communicating, or potentially that could be mitigated by separating the picture where maybe they do down below. So you're the hander out versus maybe a picture is with the school admin or by themselves.
That's a good
And
idea.
people do all of those things, so it's not like any one of those things are right. But we'll proceed with that. If any, we'll invite you, if as many of you that can come to practice, that can, the forward conversation will help with the anticipated setup, but practice can help maybe make sure we dial that in. And we'll make sure either if admin is too busy shaking hands, maybe another staff's job is to say, wait to the announcer until it's clear and then go ahead and just work on the visual cues. So I think we'll be able to dial that in.
I actually like the idea of them taking the picture with the admin because they're
That's the
more,
connection.
they're more connected. You know what I mean? It's like, they would be like, oh, this is Principal Freeze, or, you know, that them, they are with us, most of them, so, I like that idea.
I actually also kind of, I don't know what other school districts do, for only know reporting. So I don't know if it's common practice for board members to actually be handing the diplomas to them.
More common than not, I would say, but we've done it all variety of different ways. When I was a principal, we almost change it every year. So,
Because
yeah.
I'd be perfectly okay too with the principal handing, you know, with Mr. Freeze handing them out, and especially when he's got his daughter graduating this year, so.
Well, I like how we do kind of make exceptions for a
Yeah.
few, because it makes it more personal.
Because we can.
Yeah, yeah, we can, yeah.
One thing is, it's nice to be able to say their name. It's hard to hear the announcers saying the name up there on the stage with everything that's going on. I don't know if there's any way they can either be louder or we can see it someplace. I mean, it's hard to hear them, especially since it's coming from both sides.
It sounds like such a simple thing, handing
I know.
diplomas. It sounds so simple, but there's so much happening up there. And getting the kids pulling tight for the photo and smile and face. No, take your diploma cover with you.
You gotta remember, Kathy's probably taught a lot of them, right?
Yeah,
So she's
yeah.
got a
She's usually got at
connection.
least a dozen up there.
Oh, this division, there's only 10.
Only
Okay.
10.
But still, I think that's one of the things that it creates creates a little chaos in my ADD mind, maybe, but it's one of the things that makes Ording. And I think it's one of the special things about graduation.
But the other thing is, whatever happens, when I give them their cards ahead of time, and I can say on it, I will look for you out in the audience to come and personally congratulate you. You know, so I'd already thought about that, you know, just tell them, I will come and find you when you come there on the field.
I think it might be helpful though that we do go to the practice.
Yeah.
Because that way the kids are actually doing it with us, and it would be helpful for me anyway.
Yeah.
And I think they would be prepared that we're the ones
Yeah,
doing it,
yeah.
right? Instead of.
Yeah, well then we'd go through the whole process and have no worry.
We walk them through that process in the morning of.
Yeah, I think that.
Do they do that before they walk to the schools?
Oh, absolutely. We do it kind of mid-morning-ish.
Okay.
Okay, so that's some ideas.
That's some ideas.
We'll probably talk again before graduation and figure it out.
Yep.
And I'm good with whatever too.
Yeah, I'm okay changing it up a little bit. We want to try and make it great for the kids, so.
And let's hope that it doesn't need this room.
I
Great.
think positive weather.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's beautiful.
with that, I turned into a long meeting, but good stuff.